So you're thinking about getting your welding certification, right? I get it. It can seem like this huge, intimidating mountain to climb. But honestly, it's really just a clear step-by-step path to taking your career to the next level. We're not just talking about passing some tests here. This is about turning what you can do with your hands into a certified, respected profession. So let's break down exactly how you're gonna get there.
All right, so here's the game plan, our roadmap from novice to pro. First, we're gonna tackle the why. What's the real value of that piece of paper? Then, and this is a big one, we'll get into safety, the stuff that's absolutely non-negotiable. After that, we'll jump into the fun stuff, the 4 core welding processes. We'll even get a little nerdy with the science behind a solid weld. And to wrap it all up, we'll cover how to dodge those common mistakes that can totally trip you up on an exam.
Okay, first things first, let's really dig into the big question. Why should you even care about this for your career? I mean, really, it's so much more than just getting a fancy piece of paper. Think of it like a key, a catalyst that's gonna unlock doors to opportunities you might not even see right now. Yeah, but I can hear some of you already. You're thinking, hey, I already know how to lay a bead. Why do I need a piece of paper to prove it? And you know what? That's a totally fair question. The answer, though, is all about what that paper signals to the rest of the industry, especially to the people who write the paychecks. See that piece of paper? It's basically your professional calling card. It gives you instant credibility. The second an employer sees that certification, boom, they know you've met the industry standard. And guess what? That usually means more money in your pocket right from the start. But here's the real game changer. It unlocks the door to the big leagues. We're talking aerospace, structural steel, high-pressure pipe welding, the kind of jobs that are pretty much off limits without that cert. It just screams that you're a serious professional who's invested in your craft. All right, let's shift gears to something that is, without a doubt, the bedrock of being a pro welder: safety. And look, this isn't about memorizing a boring list of rules. It's about a mindset. It's about an attitude that keeps you safe, your coworkers safe, and ensures your work stands the test of time. So where do we start with your first line of defense? Your PPE, personal protective equipment. It all begins with your eyes, right? A good helmet and safety glasses are non-negotiable for protecting against that blinding arc flash. Then you've got your flame-resistant gear and gloves. I mean, we're talking about sparks that are literally thousands of degrees hot. You've got to cover up. And don't even think about forgetting steel-toed boots and a respirator. Those fumes are no joke. Seriously, every single piece of this gear is absolutely crucial. But being safe isn't just about what you're wearing. A true pro is constantly aware of their surroundings. What does that mean? It means you're checking that your machine is grounded correctly, because nobody wants to deal with an electric shock. It means you're giving your cables a quick once-over for any cracks or bare wires before you even strike an arc. It means your workspace is clean with zero flammable stuff nearby. And you always, and I mean always, know exactly where that fire extinguisher is. And of course, you've got to have good airflow. Good ventilation is everything.
Okay, now that we've got the safety foundation locked down, let's get our hands dirty with the skills. We're about to dive into the 4 main welding processes. These are the big ones, the ones that are going to be on pretty much any certification test you take. Think of them as the 4 essential power tools in your professional welding toolkit.
First up, we've got SMAW. You probably know it as stick welding. This one's the old, reliable, one of the most versatile methods ever. The secret sauce is that flux coating on the electrode. It burns off and creates its own little shield of gas around the weld. That's what makes it the absolute king for working outdoors when the wind's blowing, or for repairs out in the field where hauling a big gas bottle just isn't happening. Next on the list is GMAW, which pretty much everyone calls MIG welding. If stick is the rugged outdoorsman, MIG is the fast, clean factory worker. It's all about speed and efficiency. You've got a wire that feeds out continuously and a shielding gas flowing over it. The result? Super clean welds with hardly any cleanup. It's no wonder you see it everywhere in places like car factories. And then there's GTAW, or TIG welding. TIG is the artist of the welding world. This is all about precision, control, and making welds that are just beautiful. You use a tungsten electrode that doesn't get consumed, which gives you insane control over the puddle. So when the weld has to be absolutely perfect, both in strength and looks, I'm talking aerospace parts, custom motorcycles, fancy stainless steel, TIG is the only way to go. Last but not least, we've got FCAW, flux cord arc welding. If MIG is a factory worker, think of flux cord as its bigger, tougher cousin that works on the docks. It's similar to MIG, but the wire itself is hollow and filled with flux. This setup gives you amazing penetration, just blasting heat deep into the metal.
It's an absolute powerhouse for welding the really thick, heavy stuff you find in shipbuilding or big structural steel projects. So when you see them all laid out like this, it just clicks, right? Stick is your all-around do-anything workhorse. MIG is for speed and production. TIG is your scalpel for precision and beautiful work. And flux cord is the sledgehammer for heavy-duty steel. Knowing the pros and cons here, that's what makes you a smart welder. It's all about picking the right tool for the job.
Okay, so we've covered the how. We've talked about the techniques. Now, let's get into the why. We're gonna go one level deeper and talk about the science. Honestly, understanding a little bit of metallurgy, what's actually happening inside that glowing metal, is what separates a decent welder from a truly great one. This is the knowledge that lets you make strong, reliable welds every single time. Let's zoom in on one of the most important ideas in all of welding, the heat-affected zone, or just the HAZ. So picture your weld bead. The HAZ is the little strip of metal right next to it. Now, this metal didn't actually melt, but it got blasted with so much heat from the arc that its internal structure, its grain, got totally rearranged. It's this small, invisible area where a ton of weld failures start. That's why understanding and controlling it is such a big deal. And this right here really explains why that zone is so finicky. It all comes down to how fast it cools. Think about it. If you let it cool down nice and slow, the metal ends up softer and more flexible, more ductile. But if it cools down way too fast, that metal becomes hard and brittle, almost like glass. And what happens to brittle things? They crack. Being able to manage that cooling rate, now that is a pro-level skill.
Okay, this brings us to the home stretch. This is where everything we've talked about, the safety, the different processes, the science, it all comes together for one goal, making a perfect weld. Because at the end of the day, a certification test is all about proving you can identify and, more importantly, prevent those common flaws. This is where the rubber meets the road.
So, the million-dollar question, what makes a good weld go bad? Well, it's almost never one giant mistake. It's usually a bunch of little things. A little slip-up in your prep, a slight wobble in your technique, maybe your settings are just a hair off. All those little things add up to create a flaw that can ruin the whole weld. So let's talk about the big three, the top defects you absolutely have to avoid. First, you've got porosity. Those are those tiny little bubbles or holes in the weld. That's almost always caused by some kind of contamination. Dirt, oil, even moisture in the air. See? It goes right back to prep and keeping your area clean. Next is slag inclusion. This is when little bits of flux get trapped inside the weld. It happens when you don't clean properly between your weld passes, especially with stick and flux core. And finally, there's undercut. That's that little groove that gets carved out right at the edge of the weld. That's a dead giveaway that your technique was off. Either you were moving too fast or your heat was cranked up too high. And really, that's the main takeaway here. Confidence, whether you're on the job site or sitting for your certification exam, it doesn't just magically show up. It's built. It's built through careful preparation. It's built by really understanding these concepts, by putting in the hours to practice your technique, and by being disciplined about safety every single day. That's what makes a pro a pro. Now, if you're feeling fired up and ready to really dig in and master all this stuff, then the perfect next step for you is the book that this whole explainer is based on. It's called Welding Certification Exam Prep, and it's by Mike L. Porter. It's a seriously fantastic guide that goes into all this in way more detail. You can grab it right now on Amazon. And hey, if you're more of a listener, it's also coming out soon on audible.com, and it's narrated by Tom Brooks. It's really the perfect tool to get you fully prepared to walk in and ace that certification exam.